Happy Palindrome Day. Tuesday is full of twos. How fun is that? So, it's been about a week since I've been on here, and I'm thinking, I've been so busy. I've had so many messages channeled through me that maybe I can consolidate as much as I can into this video. Hopefully not too long, and I can keep your attention. So welcome to my living room. My name is Lana. If this is your first time joining me, welcome again, where I just share with you what is coming through the energetic channels, whatever it is that has been coming through, feels like the collective. It's what I call having a pulse on the collective consciousness. And you can see when you have eyes to see, when you have real eyes to realize that everything around you is a mirror. Life is only showing up to you where you're at. And so no matter what it is you want to experience in this life, you need to focus on that. Because when your attention is going toward what you don't want, all you're doing is magnetizing yourself. You're creating more of that vibration, that energy that attracts it more to you. It's the same thing as we say to be grateful is to appreciate, is to attract and collect interest on that. Think about how banks use the words. All of languaging is a manifestation, is a way to cast spells and to create your life. So you need to choose your words wisely, because the words that you choose create the reality that you're living. So with the bank's energy, money, when something appreciates, it earns interest, compounds, becomes more than what it was. So again, where energy flows, where your attention goes, where attention goes, energy flows. When you're conscious of that, when you're in awareness of where your attention is going, then you know what it is you're harnessing. Energetically, you are creating it. What you anticipate, you create. Even if you think, it always happens. Well, you've created that story. You've created that construct. You've collected that energy. And every cell of your being is eavesdropping and listening to the whispers of your mind. Every thought you think is registering in your body. And your body is the biggest tattletale on your mind. So where you think, the body records. So think about in terms of data. We are just basically walking clever forms of technology, machines, if you will, that we take in data through our five senses. We register it in our minds, but what we don't remember still gets lodged into our physical body, into the cells. The cells collect that data. It has memory. So we are walking timekeepers, if you really want to get technical. All the information is that you claim to seek, that you research. We are the ones we are looking for. When you think you're looking for the one, everything you're seeking outside of yourself resides within you. You wouldn't even know it existed had it not resided within you, even if you don't even know exactly what that is and you can't even put your thumb on it, even though it's not tangible. Because, science, trying to prove it, has to be in form. Prove it to me. That's the mind, that's the ego. The heart feels it, it knows it. So this is that, paradox of life, where the mind wants to be in control. It wants to always be right, usually at the expense of you being happy. The heart wants to be happy. The heart is what seeks compassion, love, connection, interaction, engagement. Over these years, if you haven't noticed, technology has taken the place of interaction into real human connection. This is where humanity is suffering the most right now, is this dependency. We all have our vices, and they are lodged within devices. We reach for the device, not realizing what we're really, really yearning for is another human, is to connect with one another. So these twos, see, this is duality, this is polarity, this is life, the this and the that, two halves of the whole. Without contrast, you would never even recognize when you're out of balance. Because all the duality is showing you when you see the true, the false, the one and the zero, the bit, the byte, the feminine, the masculine, the good, the bad, the benevolent, the malevolent, the victim, the perpetrator, the hero, the villain. You need the left and the right to be whole. But what humanity hasn't caught up with yet is that we need to drop all the man-made separation and divide that's kept us on the dividing lines, on the opposite, opposing sides, let's say. The idea that you need to choose a side is the biggest ruse, the biggest deception that everyone has fallen trapped to, fallen victim to. Nobody wants to be a victim. When you choose a side, you've already lost. When you choose to be neutral and recognize that you need your dark and your light to shine bright, that you yourself are of the light and of the dark. You are the angel and the demon. So why not be the best at it all? Because when you're aware of your dark, when you're aware of your shadow self, and if you've watched me long enough, when you know yourself so well, nobody can pull the wool over your eyes because you recognize that too in you. So when someone comes at you and you get that sensation like this feels familiar, tap into that. That wisdom is within you. It's showing up outside of you to remind you, to test you, because life does that. Life is a game. And how will you dance with it? Because life will throw all sorts of curveballs at you. And unless you're willing to show up to it and respond as opposed to react, nobody said you had to choose this or that. That's just something you adopted because of the programming and conditioning. The more we're caught up in the duality, the more fragmented we are, the loss we feel, the grieving of the other side of our parts. Because when missing parts, we choose what we like because we've been taught to avoid pain. When you avoid the pain, when you numb out the pain, you end up avoiding the joy, the happiness, everything you claim to desire gets numbed out when you numb out the opposing sensation. Because see, life is meant to be felt fully. Life is meant to be experienced wholly. W-H-O-L-Y and H-O-L-Y. Because you are sacred. You are a soul. You are the royalty, if you can claim that. I say if because most people, they don't even feel worthy of what it is they claim to desire. So they should on themselves and self-sabotage. I know, I've been there, I've done that. Of course I know these things because I've had these experiences, and I only speak from my personal experience. So the twos on Tuesday, 222, 2, which equates to 1 when you add it all up because it's 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, unity, union, divine union. Coming out victorious as one. That's this ironic. And yeah, numbers, numerology, gematria. You can go and you can look it all up. You can try to start to see the codes, the patterns, because it's there. This is a matrix, and the divine code is in numbers. Like God's source, universe, is a master mathematician with the sacred geometry, the synchronicities, the fact that you even recognize them in your own life, your own birthday, your numbers in your names, how you identify yourself. It's all connected. So what we are all seeking in life is ourselves, though we tend to think there needs to be another person. I'm not saying we're not here to match up with people, because I do believe we come together to remember. And that the more of us that are together, the remembering is the members coming together, because we're all drops in the ocean, right? As drops in the ocean, we're all part of God's source energy. We are God's source in these individual characters, roles, experiences, because God wanted to have all of these experiences. So it decided to throw out all these different versions of who we all are representing. And I've always said it must be so amazing to be the Godhead. And if you've done plant medicine and certain types of psychedelics, you've experienced it most likely, where you realize that you are experiencing it all, and that we created this life for our own entertainment. It is a game. And the less serious we get about it, and the more lighthearted and childlike with curiosity we get. Again, see, we came in with this knowing as children. I still remember it. As children, we have the naivete because we are so connected to source, and that the veil is so thin. We have the truth within us. But because we don't have the tools to communicate it effectively when we first come in, then we start to adapt to the environments we're exposed to, the people we admire that are there to caretake us. We didn't come in with the manual, obviously. And so part of the game is remembering who we are and what we came here to do and to be. We're not meant to be fragmented. We're not meant to be shackled to the past, thinking that because something didn't go a certain way, or it did go a certain way, that is our death sentence, carrying us forward into the rest of our life. That is not the way this is supposed to play out. But see, God has been playing man, and man has decided it can do better than God. Doesn't make sense, does it? Intention is everything. And ironically, not everybody has the best intentions. But because the architect is very clever, even those who don't have the best intentions, they're being serving in a role, I should say. They're the ones serving a role to poke and provoke. Again, we need the adversaries. We need the villain. We need the heroine, because they are one and the same when they are together. They just show and mirror what is missing in the other. Even in ourselves, when we see someone we think is a hero, we admire them, that is in us too. We wouldn't recognize it otherwise. And even the people we are like, ooh, I don't like this about that person, that's an aspect of yourself showing up as well. The sooner we come to terms with those parts of ourselves, the sooner we become whole, the more we can start to create the energetic shift, because the holy shift is all about shift happening within you first. Want to see the change in the world? You got to start with the change within. You hear about all these masters talking about all the answers you seek are within you. Yes, they are. As I started out saying, we are timekeepers, walking timekeepers. We think we need to seek through history and find answers to things. Truthers out there. I get it. I've been doing it all my life, but you know what? Hack yourself. Get to know yourself so deeply, you'll recognize what comes through is the truth of the past, even before this physical existence. You will start to remember things from the past in your life, in this life, and even in the future. Your vision will become clearer. The truth will vibrate and radiate out of you, undeniably. But until you own what it is you're denying, all you're doing is just lying to yourself. And when we lie to ourselves, when we do that, that's the biggest disservice we do to ourselves. Then we open ourselves up to being deceived and influenced by those around us. Until you stop lying to yourself, others will keep on showing up to you the way you do, the way you do you. Because we are magnets and we attract where we're at. So the more in tune and aligned with your integrity, because we're all addicted to the BS. You know what that is? Biggest addiction is your BS. Your bullshit is your belief system. It's a true statement. Our biggest addictions are to our belief systems, the dogma, the idea that we know, because our minds like to always know, to be right. See, this always happens. Listen to your inner dialogue. Get to know what runs the show, because the more you slow down and pay attention to that mind, which isn't always so kind, you are your biggest and worst inner critic. Speaking from personal experience. Don't shoot on yourself. Everything in life, in order to make progress, has to start with practice. Last week I had someone show up into a yoga class, and that person, I could see in the face how much she was frustrated and beating herself up as I was speaking through certain postures, and she was unable to get into the full posture. Listen, this is the biggest disservice most people do to themselves. They figure if I can't do it right the first time, I can't do it at all. Forgetting that in order to make progress, you have to practice, which means you have to keep repeating. You have to do it over and over again. See, you can take the weight off of your own shoulders. Nobody's perfected life. That's a given. Like, what makes you think you need to? Because from the moment we're born, we are basically taught that we have to prove ourselves. So with this proving of ourselves, we're also under the impression and influence, and the pressure builds, that we must do everything perfect. Says who? Stop buying into the lies. Buying into the lies is what suffocates our hearts and souls. We're here to have experiences. Life is a series of experiences that get stored as memories. And those memories get stored in every cell of your being, every organ, every muscle, fiber, being that the cells make up of you. And so when you are so dogmatic in your mind, when you are so addicted to your BS, your belief systems, that you're unwilling to let go of those, that is where dis-ease comes from. Dis-ease in the mind, meaning it's not true, but you're holding on to it. You want to believe it's true because the mind wants to believe it's right. But believing it true and it being right or wrong don't always go hand in hand. Choosing to hold on to something that is untrue, but just a story you concocted and created, is only limiting you. And when we limit ourselves, it is like a death sentence. You label yourself, that is a limitation. Everything we limit ourselves starts in the mind. The more you are caught up on the belief of something, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. Why would you do that to yourself? Would you do that to someone you loved? You hold yourself back. You break your own heart with your own inner dialogue. This is why meditation is so powerful and so important. To slow down and be in awareness of your own self-limiting belief system, your own mental constructs, stories, beliefs, the things that in your body knows are untrue. So these stories, the BS up in your mind, translates into the body. The body seizes up because it's not real and it's not true to the body. The body tells on the mind in the form of resistance, meaning resistance and pain and tension. That's not true. When we practice with kinesiology, you ever test, if you out there, any of you have ever tried a muscle testing, where when someone says something that is untrue, your arm goes weak. Or they say something that is true and your arm is strong. That's essentially what your body is always doing at all times. But unless you're paying attention, you're blindly allowing your BS, your belief systems, to be translated in the form of discomfort, dis-ease. Think about that. You're dissing your own comfort. You're dissing your own ease because you're unwilling to let go of this stuff. We are the ones who create our own sufferings. We are not the victims of others. We're only the victims of our own mental constructs and all the bullshit, the BS, belief systems. Can you confront it? Can you actually sit down and go, wow, I can't believe I'm still thinking that way. I can't. Where did that originate from? Where did it start for you? When did you stop believing in you? That's a big question right there. Why, whose voice do you hear in your head? Is it even yours? Think about your childhood. What voice is the loudest in your head? Where did it originate? What made you stop believing in you? Because when we're children, we're fearless. We are so fearless. We're asking questions of why when our parents are telling us things that they have bought into being limited. Why? Why not? I don't get it. Like I remember asking those questions. Children are a lot wiser than we give them credit because we don't understand or we don't remember. But as we become adults, we get an opportunity to come back to and reunite. Because as we get older, we have enough experience where we start to see patterns. We start to see our trauma and how it played out throughout the course of our lives. When it's still unresolved, it's still dictating the way our lives are lived. Conscious or unconscious, until you heal it, and I say, gotta feel it to heal it. Until you heal it, it's just ruling over you. It's dictating your experiences. It's the background program running the show. And when people say I'm fearful or I'm afraid that I'm going to get this such and such disease because my aunt, my uncle, my mother, my father, they had that. Read the book by Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief. They had two twin girls that had their family history had no history whatsoever of the big C, of cancer. And then they were adopted into a family that had a history. What do you think happened to those two girls? They both developed cancer. It's your environment, it's your belief system. Get out of your own BS. Get out of your own way. You want to believe it, it's going to be real for you. You don't want to believe it, you need to start working on it. Confronting it, recalibrating your own brain, moving your body to get the cobwebs shaken out, like really get into the dregs of all these nooks and crannies in our bodies that we store all this old unresolved emotion in. This is why if you ever come to my classes, especially, one of the things I pay attention to your body alignment, because your body is always telling on your mind. I can see it. For every inch forward your head is jutted forward of the heart, you're putting 10 pounds of pressure for every inch right between the shoulder blades. And when people can't keep their arms up, and I talk out the languaging as far as, rolling the shoulders down, letting the arms reach up through the armpits, the fingertips. If anything, your shoulder blades should be holding your arms in place. The shoulders should rest away from the ears. But then I notice when a person gets up in their mind, their body alignment gets out of alignment. See, when you're misaligned in the mind, the body gets misaligned. So if you get really caught up in a lot of dialogue in the mind, and instead of getting back to tuning into your body when you're in a class or whatever you're doing in life, When you're so much up in your head, it affects your body. Misalignment in the mind translates to a misaligned spine. That's the first thing, and that's your foundation. That's your belief system. Your spine is a direct correlation mirror to your mind. Your spine reflects your vitality, your youthfulness. If it is rigid and stiff, it's showing that your beliefs are also dogmatic and unwavering. The more you hold on to something, the stiffer your body demonstrates it. The head jutting forward, you're anticipating the future. The head really far back is stuck in the past. And the face will talk up a storm. You know, if you're a jaw clencher, ooh, ooh, holding back and holding on to. And this is where I say everything originates in the mind and it travels down from the jaw through the spine. Ends up that you store emotions in your stomach. That's your stomach. The enteric nervous system is completely wired through here. You know, a lot of people don't talk about the enteric nervous system. That's your intuition. It's what tells you everything from being hungry to the butterflies to the sinking in your stomach feelings. That's more the intuitive nervous system, is the enteric nervous system. And so when your stomach is off and it feels bloated, or inflammation, which is usually the form of anger, fire, or something's agitated, irritated. Any form of inflammation is something within you, a form of anger, resentment, itchiness and bitchiness, irritation. Something's been stoked from the past. And it's time to resolve it. So anytime you start noticing sensations in your body, like, be willing to lean into them like a curious child and tap into your inner child. Like, okay, we need to go back in history. What is this pain all about? Where's this originating? Notice what memories pop up in your head. Because everything that starts to come up when you start to feel sensations and you start to lean into it, maybe even you move your body. Maybe you will need to move your body. Sometimes getting the body in movement actually creates all this woo, and you can get lightheaded. I mean, there's a lot of different things that happen if you're willing to tap in. Whatever it is you feel is always an opportunity for something to be healed. Is always an opportunity for energy to make the shift so that it can continue to move through, because energy is meant to stay in motion. Emotions are energy in motion. But when we have and hold on to certain types of emotions, they get stuck in the body. And that's the dissing of the ease and the dissing of the comfort. That's the dis-ease discomfort. That creates your suffering, your struggle, your strife. But unless you're paying attention, you're just blindly running around, probably saying somebody did it to you. Because we vacillate. Nobody wants to be the victim. But you got to pay attention to your dialogue. Did someone really do something to you, or are you just responding or reacting to their behavior, which had nothing to do with you? See, life is practice. And in order to make progress, you have to practice. So anything in life that you want to do, that you desire, requires your active participation, which means you need to practice. And you need to repeatedly do it over and over again. That's what practice is, to make progress. So that if you don't get it right the first time, that's a good thing. That's a sign. It's a sign to keep doing it. If you got everything right on the first try, you'd get bored. Life is meant to be fun and challenged. Without challenge, there's no growth. Without the discomfort, you wouldn't progress. Think about that. You wouldn't even notice that shift was happening. That change is happening in the midst of the discomfort. Even like last week, so we had this amazing full moon. Lion heart. That's what I'm calling that last full moon. And the reason I say that is because courage comes from the heart. I'm a Leo. It's a lion. It's all about bringing the fun, the play, bringing you back to life with the courage to show up to it. To, even though it's your fear is surfacing, you got to do it anyway. You have to be willing to let go of the past to make space for the new. You want something to come in, you got to let something go out. You know, it's just like when you're going on an elevator, people have to get off before you can get on. It's not that you can just get on. Sometimes you got to make the space so that you will fit in there and you're not like crowded while they're coming out. See, you can create your obstacles in so many ways. Or you can choose to go through life with more flow, with ease, more grace, this fluidity, flexibility. Because truly, that's what you want. We all desire to have a life of ease. But of course, we also have to have the dis-ease, the discomfort, because that's the only way we can get poked and provoked into making some progress by going and practicing something new. So one of the things last week I was sharing, because I really wanted to make a couple videos this past week, one of the things that I was sitting with, even in my own personal practice, is that I know change is rapidly coming in. And the way I know change is coming in, and this is the part I always love to share, and I sometimes have to remind myself. So when I say it, I'm also reminding myself. When you are noticing, I was sitting in my morning practice last week, and I was like, wow, oh, wow, I am really feeling like a loss, a grief. When there is major life change, be kind on yourself, even if you don't even realize how major the life change is for you. Anytime change is coming into your life, whether it's a relationship, a breakup, or a new union, a new job, or you're losing a job, starting a business, traveling, change of residency, moving, new friends, all of it, it's relevant. The loss of the death of a loved one. Remember that when major life change happens, it's the same as death, because you're having to grieve the loss of the old that you always knew. And again, it's like I just said, you got to grieve that loss to allow it to go, but also be in that space of gratitude and appreciation and like childlike curiosity and joy of something new is coming too. So there's that balancing. This is the yin and the yang. This is the, when something's going out, yeah, grieve it, honor it, thank it, appreciate what it served you in your life. Like, this happens periodically. It's not just a one-time deal. When it does come up, you'll start to notice you feel a little depressed, you feel a little sad. You can't put your finger on it. Look at your life. What in your life do you notice is changing? Every single one of us is going through it. This is a collective collaboration. Everyone is being challenged in their lives in a way that they're either going to step forward or they're going to get stuck behind. And it's up to you to choose what you're going to do. So when that comes up, it's like, whoa, oh my gosh. I didn't even realize it, but I'm looking at my life and going, some major things are changing and shifting in my life. I've shared on my last videos that I'm about to get my breast implants taken out. I'm getting an explant. So this is going to go much smaller. And I've been reflecting on it because it's going to be a major change for me. I don't believe that's all of it, but that is something I'm having to contend with. At the end of March, I will go in for surgery, and I don't know what that's going to be like for 2 weeks at least of healing. I mean, I've had these in since 2009. These are the second pair. And I decided, you know what? It's time to let go of that last little bit of my last lives, because I've had many lives in this life. 2009. Whew, that's 23 years. And this isn't, like when you really think about it, I started going, oh my gosh, that's going to be a major life change, because that means all my clothes are going to fit differently, which is a good and a bad thing. I'm in the process of going through and selling off stuff that I'm no longer using and don't foresee myself using. So that's exciting but scary at the same time, because that's almost half my life. I'm 47. I'll be 48 this year. So this 23 years of my life of having, you know, I say sacks underneath my skin. It's kind of awkward. Like, I want to be au naturel again. I want to be back to my natural body with no more heaviness on my heart. Because I was having the conversation that what had dropped in for me with another person who had her explant. I said, you know what I really feel like? This is going to remove a lot of different issues I've had with my shoulder and around my back, because I feel like this has actually contributed to some of my chronic pain. And because this is synthetic. These aren't real underneath the skin. And that's putting a space between my heart and my lungs. Like, that right there, heart space. I got a huge heart. I'm a Leo. I'm all heart. And so it's scary. You know, I know people are going to look at me differently. Oh, well, I'm going to have to deal with that. I'm not going to take it personal. I'll notice how I feel at the time. Is it really going to affect me? I won't know till I'm experiencing it. But I know for me, I'm excited. A little scared, but I'm truly excited. Because that's a new era of my life coming into this change. I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I put them in for me. I'm taking them out for me. So just notice if you have been feeling this way, especially over this past week. Because that last full moon was a doozy. Some people felt like they got hit with a wrecking ball. Because what happens if you are resisting any change in your life, it's going to feel like it's forced upon you. And I've already experienced that enough times in my life that I'm like, I surrender to it. Hey, how can I help myself help me go through this? I don't want to resist it. I want to get excited again like my inner child does. My inner child's like, hey, let's play. How can we infuse more love and joy, more fun into this life? That's what I'm here to do. I don't want to be all serious all the time. I get bored of that. I can have a conversation over here, get all fired up, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't even want to exhaust energy on that. Because it takes a lot of your personal energy, your life force, when you physiologically get so involved and so, projectile vomit of all the things that are going wrong. And again, when you tell a story, you're actually manifesting and creating it even stronger. It's got more power the more you tell it. And every time you tell a story, you're putting more fuel on the fire. You are creating your experience and you're drawing more of it to you. So you have to be very careful about the stories you tell, the words you choose, and the spell you're casting. Past, present, and future, because you have the power to change the past, even though you may not realize it. I will send messages back to my younger self. I will even consult and send, I will request guidance from my wise woman. These are things I do for myself. Nobody taught me. It's just something I've been dabbling with since I can remember. And mostly because I remember when I was a little girl, I would receive information. I would receive messages. So who's to say when we talk about having angels and spirit guides that it's not really just us? I think it is. That's my personal belief. Maybe you've heard that before. Maybe you've thought that before. But for me, I know I had communication over the course of my childhood and as an adult with angels, my angels that have watched over me, and ancestors. And I'm very clear. I'm pretty sure now looking at it all, so much of it was connected to the fact that I also send myself messages. So whether it came in the form of an angel or just a drop-in as a channeling, like I say, because the divine likes to speak through rhythm and rhyme with me, and I love that. And I believe that's a lot to do with my mom too. She was quite the the book Wordsmith. I totally admire my mother's wit with humor and words. In fact, my entire family is all about the humor. So think about that. If you are feeling like something in you is stirring, because that's what this full moon did. It was like stir up the dregs. You know, in coffee, the dregs, the grounds at the bottom. You know, it's like stirring up that old shit. Because if it doesn't get stirred up, it's going to fester. It's going to get disgusting. You got to clear out the cobwebs. You got to get into the nooks and crannies. And I'm talking physically, mentally, energetically, and in your spirit. We need to clear and cleanse out the old stuff. You need to heal your past. You have to come to terms that what happened in the past is not who you are now. Sure, it shaped you. It influenced you. You had experiences. But don't let it be a prison or a life sentence that holds you back from living in the now and progressing into the future. And yes, even that takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. Daily meditation, clearing out the garbage pit of the mind, you know, like really mental floss, as I call it. Meditation is mental floss. You got to get in there, stir it all about. You got to hear what's going on, because when people say their minds are busy when they sit to meditate, yeah, imagine that you're only getting to hear it because you're paying attention. The rest of the time, you're blindly being programmed and led by it. Your mind is mastering you rather than you mastering your mind. And that's why it's so important to use the breath. The more present we are with our breath, the more present we are in the moment. And then we start to notice when we're really in our breath, breathing in, breathing out, we start to notice where there's restriction and constriction in our bodies. And that's what connects to the mind. And that's how that all gets stirred up if you're not physically moving. Because even movement, you get up, you dance. So when you dance and you move your body in certain ways, you get into the feminine, you get into the masculine, you do all this somatic release is like soma, right? So it's what's stored in the body, and every cell of your being needs to be stirred up. When you stir that up through movement, through the breath, through whatever it is you do with music, intoning, using your voice, humming, every one of us, even if you don't think you can sing, you are a tuning fork for yourself. Whatever sound comes out of you is a sound for healing you. That may sound silly to some people. Sometimes I just get this churning up, and I just let whatever comes out, and it's like, you hear about people talk about light codes. You hear that? You know what that is? It really is just your own vibration, your energy, your source, your tuning fork. Don't feel silly. Do it in the privacy of your own home. Do it when you're in the shower. Whatever sound comes out of you, that's another way to stir up that old stuff. It's also a good way to call in your gifts. You want to increase your intuition, up level, upgrade, because this is what the ascension is about. Are you ready to step up and into your personal power? You have to be willing to try things that are new, unfamiliar, a little bit weird. You know, like I teach Kundalini yoga. Some people call it the freak yoga. Here's what I say. If you ever come to my class, the first thing I'll point out is it's the yoga of awareness through your personal experience. And some people call it the freak yoga because they see us with these white turbans and we're all in white clothes. White expands things. So what the work we're doing when you wear white expands that energy, and it's about the intention. And when you come together in unity and community, the intention behind the practice that we're doing is healing the individuals in the room, but it's radiating and rippling out to all those around the planet. So when we come on the mat, we're there to increase our immune system, boost our energy. We're there to strengthen our nervous systems, tonify and strengthen our physical bodies, to increase our aerobic capacity, to expand the breadth of our breath, to connect to source. It's a whole body experience. And so we freak out on the mat, do some crazy stuff that may not resonate with you at first, but you're like, wait a minute, when you walk out of that room, I guarantee you, you'll have less chance that you'll freak out in the world. Because if you freak out on the mat, you don't freak out there. So that's the key. Sometimes you got to do some freaky stuff behind the scenes so you're not freaking out on other people or projectile vomiting your shit all over everybody. So that's what meditation is about. When you calm the mind, you can claim your mind. When you calm your mind, you won't take it out on others. So when you're in awareness of where your mood is at in the daytime, and then what I do when I first do my practice in the morning is I get a pulse on the collective consciousness. I can tap in, okay, this is what's coming up for me, and what's the theme that's dropping in, what's the message that I'm receiving. Sometimes I wake up out of bed and I get an actual sentence, I get an actual word, it's a dream that I just woke up out of. It's quite intriguing, but the more that you do it, the more you sharpen your skills, you hone your intuition. You can predict what's about to happen because you're so in tune with the vibrations and the energies in yourself and all around you that you feel it coming in and others feel you coming in. But it's up to you to choose because choice is your superpower. So this time that we're in right now, we have to carefully choose who is in our circle, who is going forward with us from this point. Are we going to continue to allow people who haven't served in our inner circle, that don't belong there? Are we going to play that loyalty card to our own detriment? I've done it. Or are you actually going to step into the sovereignty of knowing that you can trust yourself and you can trust others when they show up to you where they're at, instead of trying to make excuses for why they're not where you want them to be in some anticipation that they'll just meet you there at some point. See, because we're all evolving, we're all growing at different rates. And you have to have compassion for those who aren't where you're at already, because you were there once too. And the only way they're going to evolve sometimes is by you not trying to fix or help them, but allowing them to have their experience. And in the case that some people aren't meeting you where you're at and they're not serving, and you don't feel that you're able to serve them because they're not receptive, sometimes those people have to go away, and that's tough love. Sometimes releasing them out of your circle will empower them to evolve quicker. Just because they're not with you doesn't mean they're not going to keep going forward. So sometimes it's a switch in the ego. Like, you think by being loyal to them, you're going to help them. See, that's the ego wanting to be in control and to be right. But more often than not, the quicker you let them go, the quicker they excel and ascend. And you yourself, because if you're willing to relinquish control, get out of your own way, by releasing certain people, your energy can now expand even more. You can elevate and ascend even higher. The holy shift will happen, but you can't be trying to hold the reins and control it for yourself or others. You have to surrender to the process and realize that we're all walking the same path. It just looks different for everyone. So when I was talking about the duality and the two halves of the whole, and today being Tuesday, the irony is that when you find yourself caught up in a dualistic situation, you're extreme over here or extreme over there, you're feeling like you need to choose a side. Step back and take a deep breath. Can you be neutral? Can you walk the middle path? That is what the gurus, all the teachers, the masters would say. The middle way is the way. And that's being in neutrality. And neutrality is wholeness. Because the contrast of this and that is that two sides of the coin are still part of the coin. That you don't have to choose the heads or the tails, because they're always going to be together. They may not appear it to be together at the moment, and the reason they don't appear to be together is because you yourself are caught up in the duality. So when you see the contrast, when you see the opposing, one side or the other, step back and ask yourself what it is that has got you caught up in the duality, choosing or condemning or judging. Because that's all that is. We are choosing to judge the situation, which in itself is not an acceptance. And when we choose something, we also deny it. Whatever you deny and reject is an aspect of yourself. We don't want to believe that something outside of ourselves is of us, but everything is. If it's showing up to you, that's your work to do, baby. Whatever shows up to you is either where you're at in bliss, in your glory, in your personal power, or it's there to poke and provoke you so that you move higher, so that you do shift into a higher awareness of you. Think about that. That's how life gets you to level up. Life gets you to level up because it wants to see, hey, we're going to poke and provoke you because that's an opportunity for you to grow and evolve. And some of you have maybe watched my previous videos where I talked about your inner child just wants your attention. Any trauma that you haven't resolved or healed in your past is your inner child feeling neglected. So when you do the rebirthings, if you ever come to my rebirthings, or you do the work to tap into your little one, acknowledging the fact that your little one, your younger version of you, may still be feeling neglected, abandoned, and have some needs that need to be met. That still resides within you, or it wouldn't surface. So sometimes when you don't go within to take care of you, your little one is so clever that she will energetically draw in a third party. I say third because you've got the inner child and you. And you are the adult now. You can't play into the victimhood of the past. When your inner child is calling for your attention, it's an opportunity to reparent yourself. So if something is emotionally charging you, it's time to get it under control, in the sense that, oh, wow, I'm feeling this way. I'm not talking about denying the feeling. You got to feel it to heal it. Like really sit in the muck of it. Sometimes that's how the energy moves the quickest, because all it wants to be is acknowledged and recognized that, hey, this is how I've been feeling. Oh, that doesn't feel so good. Whew. And go, like I talk about mirror therapy. Go look at yourself in the mirror. Give yourself permission to feel that shit. Own it. Claim it. That way it doesn't own you or claim you. When you own it, you claim it, you feel it to heal it, then it walks on through. It dissipates, it disappears, it goes away. You know why? Because the moment you acknowledged it, it felt seen and heard. And when you see and hear yourself, that's time to celebrate. And then when you look in the mirror, you go, holy shit. If I had have only known it was that simple, that to really truly heal was just to feel that life, it's magic. And the magic's within you, not outside of you. That you're the master manifester, that you are that powerful. Everything you need is within you. Stop going without. It's all within. Right now, the planet, humanity, is going looking for fights elsewhere, outside of themselves. You see it. Because they don't know how to emotionally regulate. They don't know how to really be present with what is within them. It's easier to take it out on someone else. But then how many of us have done that and had the remorse after the fact? The projectile vomit and like, oh, I can't take it back. I just destroyed this, that, or the other. Well, there's nothing wrong with that because we all sometimes have those experiences. But the truth is that when you become emotional, you become irrational. And until you can like really harness that and reel it back in, you're not going to be able to heal it. You have to sit with it. You have to feel it. You got to be in the muck of it sometimes. You don't have to even know what it is exactly. Sometimes it's just a matter of like, I just feel like shit. And I'm choosing to feel this way right now. Why? Because maybe my soul wanted me to feel and experience this moment right here, right now. Why do I have to put a label on it? Why do I have to explain it? Why do I have to know all the details? Damn that mind. Again, it's not so kind. We poo-poo, we should on ourselves in such a way that we dismiss the actual experience of life. Life is practice. Why not practice being in the feeling? It's not always going to feel good. It's about us getting good at feeling. That's the practice. The more you're willing to sit in the feeling, the less it's going to keep on showing up because then you've had the experience. Now take that into consideration. The more you're practicing all these rainbows, colors of feelings, the palette. Here's some joy. Here's some pain. Hey, let's have some grief. You know, the more you're willing to go through this beauty, this melange, these different flavors of emotions, the more beautiful your life and the more rich it will be because you allowed yourself to experience it all as it is. But every time you deny yourself the experience of feeling, it's like your heart sinks a little bit more, your breath gets taken away. These are the ways that we suffer physically, physiologically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's like takes a little bit more of our life force. Oh, you didn't want to feel that. And believe it or not, it's the gift of life. It's the gift of God. For you to be handed on a silver platter, here's an experience. I made it just for you. Why would you want to deny what God is giving you? You can also give it back to God after you're done. When I did my rebirthing this weekend, good reminder, you don't have to suffer. The suffering is resisting the feeling. You're choosing to not have the experience is what causes your suffering. You're choosing not to feel so that you can heal. You're choosing what God is serving up on a silver platter because God knows this is the path to your awakening. This is the path to your evolution, your growth, your joy. Everything it is you desire in this life requires this experience right here. God knows it. Why are you not trusting it? You are God. You created this for yourself. We all did. We are that powerful. But we're not clever enough to recognize God is in the details. And yes, the devil is in the details too. They're working hand in hand. Even if you don't want to believe that. You need the devil for the God to exist. And you need God for the devil to exist. That is duality. That is polarity. When we recognize the evil, it's only because we're living backwards. Because live backwards is evil. Right now, the way the world is, everything's upside down, inside out, backwards and forwards. If you hadn't noticed, evil will take the spiritual stuff that is working for those of us who are awake and bastardize it. That's the best way I can say it. Pervert it and turn it into something even more ridiculous that you just shake your head at because you're like, really? I mean, if you're awake, you can see what's going on. You can truly see through the bullshit. But even if you're not, you got to feel that something's not right. Even for anybody who's just waking up, tap into what you're feeling because that is your spidey sense. And God served it up to you, just for you, so that shift could happen for you in the direction of your desires. But the more you deny the gifts of God, the number one gift you get every moment is every breath you take in. The breath of life, the prana, the spirit, that is the gift of God. Every time you take in, you're breathing in God's source energy. Every time you exhale, God's taking it right back and giving it back to you. Like, this is the flow of life, the dance. And you can find joy, and you can find and harness the play again the more you are present to the gift of the now, the moment, the here, everything that is. We're more blessed than we give ourselves credit. And we deserve to have the credit and give the credit where it is due. Because for every sensation, every feeling that arises for you, it's always an opportunity for you to be leveled up. That it's the gift of God for every sensation you feel. Maybe my stomach's bothering me right now. God decided that this was what I needed to feel. I didn't even consider that. What would that be like? Every time you feel something, ask yourself, wow, God must have thought that I needed this right now. Instead of rejecting it, trying to run away from it, put a thumb on it, why don't you be with it, whatever it is? Did you eat something because you were in a mood, and that mood got reinforced by the food, and then you created a cycle of addiction, of reaching for things to soothe and comfort you, as opposed to, wow, the mood that I was having reminded me of when I was a child and I felt like I was abandoned and nobody was there for me. So I reached for something to make myself feel better. If you could be just present with your inner child and recognize where everything is originating, to be willing to allow it to surface, so that it's no longer what runs the show, causing you to eat things that you feel guilty about, that you feel yourself sabotaging, and that God has served it to you. And most people are rejecting the gifts of God, rejecting the beauty that is right in front of them. Everything's served up on a silver platter, but in most cases, you won't notice it unless you're actively, willingly participating in your life, tuning into your five senses, honing your intuition, the inner standing, the into me I see, so that you can overstand what comes at you, all around you, in this world filled with duality, to poke and provoke you, to see how will you handle this next leveling up challenge. It's a game, so why not play? When you know the rules of the game, you know how to play. We created this matrix, and there's nothing wrong with it. None of it. It's all divine. It's all perfect. So let me know in the comments what you think. I will say, the beauty of what dropped in is always the greatest reminder of how God really does truly serve us with these feelings. Because every feeling we get to experience allows us to feel something that much more in the future. And that when you are willing to go all in, you're somebody who deeply desires the deepest love of your life. Don't go in with the fear of, oh, I don't want to get hurt. The more willing you are to go deep into that experience, to love fully, and I'm going to say this with discernment, because you're not just going to put yourself in an unsafe situation. I'm saying you can clearly, emotionally regulate and sense that this is a safe situation to even make that judgment call, to discern that your heart will be held, that you go in knowing that you're making a divine connection, a union, whether it's with yourself or another person. Trust has got to start with you. You're not just going to do it because you're blindly doing it. This is where I'm coming from with this. When you go in with full awareness to a new situation and you are willing to go with all of your heart, all in, be prepared that polarity and duality in life also equally means the more willing you are to open and crack open wide your heart with love, that at some point there will be the polarity of the pain, the grieving, the loss. But that is also still the gift, showing how deeply, willingly, committedly you entered it. So when grief comes up and serves it back to you and says, you know what, this is the gift of your dedication, your devotion to go all in with all your heart. The reason you're getting that, and you should celebrate that too, is because you were so committed in sacrificing yourself to have that experience. That is the gift and the prize on the other side. And then again, for as much as you go in for the grieving, you're going to come out on the other side of that again. And life is supposed to be this wave, riding the wave of your breath. For every inhale, there's going to be an exhale. For the in must come out and the out must come in. Duality once again. We're always expanding or contracting at all times. The more you condition and recognize this is how life functions, all of energy is moving around us, in us, through us, and we're just riding the wave of it. So why not surrender to it with a discerning, trusting, aligned whole self? That's why you have to feel it to heal it. The more healed you are, the more deeply you feel, and the more deeply you feel, the heightened your senses are, the more acute and aware of your intuition, the understanding, and the into me I see, you will be able to recognize it everywhere. That's how you really hone in your spidey senses. So 2 cards I pulled this morning from the Untethered Soul deck. That which is holding you down can become a powerful force that raises you up. You just have to be willing to take the ascent. And that goes back to feelings. You have to be willing to feel in order to heal. Because for every feeling God is giving you here, this will take you to the next level. Recognize that. That's a beautiful gift. And it's one we all take for granted because we want to deny anything that doesn't feel right or feel good. I'm not talking about an intuitive feeling. I'm talking about I'm sad, I'm grieving, I'm happy, I'm excited, all of it. All of it. There's a myriad of experiences and feelings you're going to encounter in life, and they're all there to serve you in evolving and growing. Because change comes outside of your comfort zone. The only way we go on to the next level, we ascend, we grow. Shift only happens when you're outside of that zone, the comfort. So let go, no matter what it is, let go. And let God, whatever that looks like to you. God, source, universe. It's all us anyway. It's all within you. So when I say let go, just tap in within you. Don't go without. The only thing we technically need to let go of is the BS, the belief system. Sure, we're going to have a baseline, a foundation of ideas. But be malleable, be flexible, be willing to confront it and be like, yeah, maybe that's outdated. So that belief system can go in the trash. What's a new one that's going to replace it? Oh, a new experience came in and it showed me this. Okay. We should always be flexible and willing to question everything. And especially what we question should begin within. So I hope that serves everyone tonight. One last little bit. Labels limit us, and that's how we dismiss us. So everything you need is within you. No matter what you think, everything that shows up outside of you, sometimes we're looking outside of ourselves, and maybe we do need to see or hear it from another person because that's a bouncing off effect. And when that happens, it's just you remembering and re-experiencing the memory of the fact that you already know. You might not have realized you knew, but it was within you all along. So stop seeking answers outside and truly go within. That is the part which requires you to slow down, become still, tap into your breath, quiet your mind, become the observer of your thoughts, your stories, what you're intentioning. Seek to remember, because everything you seek is within you. It's simply a memory, remembered, reimagined, re-experienced. And again, like I said earlier, when we tell a story about something from our past, we're re-experiencing that memory. We're re-experiencing that experience. And every time we tell the story, we're only remembering it from the last time we told the story. How crazy is that? So why not rewrite our stories? Start telling the story the way you wanted it to turn out. And you may even find that that is the real story anyway, because we can affect the past and we can affect the future. You just need to trust in yourself more. And because life is all about relationships, the most important relationship is how you relate to yourself. And that's how others show up to you too. So how you relate to you is how others show up to you too. And they're going to show up to you in the same energetic pattern. They're going to be there to, like I joke about this, but sometimes my truth, my inner light, irritates the demons and the shadows of others who don't want that illuminated. I'm okay with that. I've kind of had to make peace with the fact that I've been a poking and provoking individual for many people because I have a strong personality, I have a strong will, I have a strong presence, and I'm confident in myself. I'm not running around like, look at me, I just am who I am, and I don't have to apologize for who I am. And in some cases over the course of my life, what I've found is sometimes I get people that come up and say to me, you might want to tone it down, and you might want to do this, you might want to do that. From certain people, I appreciate and I welcome it. But sometimes I also recognize those people that it's their stuff that gets rubbed that they even say anything. And it's not that I needed to shift or change anything. Sometimes we say things to people, maybe it doesn't come across the right way. I do still believe we can always improve because there's the reflective portion when you say something. Ooh, how could I have done that better? Yes, we learn from our experiences. And at the other side, who's to say it wasn't part of the soul contract? Who's to say that the divine God didn't speak through you in a way that that person needed to hear it? So don't beat yourself up and overanalyze. See, I'm talking it out because that's how my mind operates. I'm sharing with you how much my mind can go on the crazy tailspin. Like for many years of my life, it was always, ooh, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to offend you. Ooh, I'm so sorry, let me try to, always trying to prove myself in the way that I communicated what I would say. Yes, I had to work on it, and I think I'm much better than I was in my communication style. But I will be honest that there are some things about me that didn't need to be changed. It wasn't about me at the time. And I recognize a lot of times when people would bring things to my attention, it wasn't about me. It was about them. And sometimes people try to make you adjust so that they can feel comfortable. Not about you. That's when people make things personal and you don't always notice it. See, when you feel your stuff, you heal your stuff, then you can recognize other people's stuff. Because when you claim it, it doesn't claim you. And what you see in you, you're going to see in another too. One of the sutras is recognize the other is you. And then also, if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. So noticing that God is in all and that the other is you, that effectively is saying that you are God too. And that what you reflect back to me is God, and I am reflecting God to you. These are just little whiz bits, wisdom bites, you just need to have your personal experience. I'm not going to tell you what it looks like or feels like. And that's what I tell anybody who comes into my yoga class. Just allow yourself to have the experience. Don't put a label on it. Because when you label something, you limit yourself. And when you limit yourself, you dismiss yourself. You're limitless. Now, be fearless about it. Do you. Be the best version of you. See how you can bring more joy, more fun, more play. And tap into your inner child. Tap into your little one. When you start to feel things, like be willing to sit there and go, ooh, maybe you can help me with this. Ask your inner child for help. I guarantee that's going to boost your own inner child confidence, because sometimes your inner child wants to be able to give you feedback that maybe you didn't realize was available to you that could help you. Your inner child just as wise, by the way. And you are always seeking yourself. So even if you think you're looking for your soulmate, you are your soulmate. When we talk about divine union, you better start with that divine union of self, because until you can be with yourself, doesn't qualify you to be with anybody else. All right, that's enough of me. So just remember, your cells are always vibrating the memory of your past. You are a walking timekeeper. Cells are amazing. We are. They talk about the Akashic records. They talk about all the library of the past and history, and there's so many names. Stop seeking for it. You know why? It's just a distraction from being here now in this. You got everything you need within you. Stop giving it out. Stop giving your energy out. This is the time to reclaim who you are and what you came here to do. So with that said, sweet dreams. So much love from my heart to yours. Many blessings. I love you.